welcome to another interview. I am here with the infamous Mike Hughes from Next Level Training. If you don't know who he is, Google. It should come up real fast. I've been a big fan and follow of his since Top Shot season 3. So yes, I'm a little bit of a nerd. That's okay, but I love that show. I love Mike on it, and I've met him several times through SHOT Show. He's a big proponent of the integrated defense strategies, and also owner of Next Level Training. He's going to talk to us a little bit more about the CERT guns. If you're in my classes, you use these pretty regularly. So without further ado, Mike, welcome.
Great, Jen. Great to be here. It's a wonderful pleasure. Thank you.
So for those people who are mistaken and don't know who you are, can we talk a little bit about who you are and what you're doing currently in the firearms and self-defense industry?
Yes, certainly. Absolutely. I mean, basically, we started, I felt a need a number of years ago, about 10 years ago now, just to have a high-volume self-diagnostic training tool, very self-centeredly, actually, just so I could train mainly in the realm of sport, competition, IPSC shooting and such. And of course, there's defense-mindedness, and there's, wanted to keep the government in check with firearms and all that. So there's 3 different areas of firearms I look at: defense, keeping the government in check, and then of course it's the passion, of hunting, competition, and what have you. And I kind of fell into it the competition side. So yeah, so now we're 10 years later. So quite a few of these out there. This whole concept, high volume self-diagnostic training. Just that's just kind of it's the same message we've just been beating for about a decade now. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but there's still a lot of ground to hoe there.
And we're going to get into a little bit later, but I mean, your company does so many different styles of products. I think it's really universalized the way that, or revolutionized the way that we are doing training in a whole new world. And it's so fantastic. I know for one, we use everything that you guys put out because it allows us to train in ways that you can't train on a range. So yeah, we're going to get more into that here in a second. Let's talk a little bit about your competitive shooting background. How long have you been competitive shooting?
Well, I actually haven't in the last 4 years now, mainly with my kids and coaching and business. But go back 10, 12, 14 years ago, I really fell in love with, I loved long range stuff at first, speed steel, then this USPSA, running and gunning, but that was what I liked. There's a lot within competitive shooting that a lot of people can dip their toe in, depending on their athletic level and age level too. That's what's kind of nice. You can be all the way up into your more advanced chapters, 60s, 70s, or just 20-year-old that really running hard like you do in IPSC. So yeah, I did well as Grandmaster. I like 6th in the nation there a while back, 7th, something like that. I forget, But it's funny. But then you start a business to really get things cranking, and you get so devoted in that, and the kids, and everything that has to take a distant second seat, not 3rd, 4th, 5th seat to life's, priorities and needs, right?
I was saying, as somebody who's based in the Pacific Northwest, can you tell me what it was like to do a competition in Georgia?
Oh, in Georgia? Yeah, actually, that's one thing, like as far as USPSA and areas, you got to travel all around. And I think in one area, 8 out there, I forget, one of them out there a while back. But, it's, I don't know, ranges are ranges, places are places. You go somewhere, you get a hotel, you shoot, it's rain, it's cold. I've been in, Texas, and it was sunny, and then the next day it was freezing, and all I had was on something like this, like literally snowing. I just almost hyped out, so yeah.
I can imagine all those different travels and exposing you to different temperatures and weathers. I mean, I'm sure that affects, competition shooting to some degree, just like any sport or any athletics. Speaking of athletics, you played football for quite a while.
Yeah. And actually, that's kind of relevant because I kind of look at pistol training, no matter what discipline it is, whether it's this pure pistol or integrated defense, like you're all doing, or just competition. I mean, you just have to approach it with that methodical, progressions and identifying weaknesses and working on those in high volume with feedback, right? So you get the feedback of good quality movement, bad quality movement, and a lot of those are really embodied in sports science. And I've always been kind of a geek in that realm. and it kind of started more with college football, back in the day, back in the 90s at University of Idaho, where, all that stuff was just totally ground in. Now, a lot of people kind of get caught in a trap like, well, that's, sport, whether it's MMA or this and that, that's sport, that's not real life. But, but the reality is, I mean, we talk about training, you talk about the things I just mentioned, like deficiency analysis and reviewing those, it takes us to, just takes a methodical approach, and it takes some tools. And honestly, that's kind of why this thing came about. Again, very self-centeredly, just for me, but it kind of evolved into something bigger.
Which is fantastic. I think sometimes that's where the best ideas come from, is it's something that we need. We see a deficiency, we see a hole in something that we're working on and building, and you had the creativity and the mindset to be able to build something like that. Now, I know you've got a degree in mechanical engineering. Did that play a big part of putting together this tool?
Yeah, engineering, absolutely. Of course, we contract a lot of great individuals, and have some great employees and engineering staff to get things going. But yeah, the grit to start off with pretty late nights and SolidWorks to make something first happen. That's and then a little bit of, I was misled in life and went to law school after that, and patent law. So getting some of that going helps out a little bit as well. And of course, actually on that note too, I mean, if anyone's curious in entrepreneurship, the patent attorney for 10, 12 years there. And before I really jumped ship in entrepreneurialism, seeing a lot of individuals who do that was pretty good training to kind of get the confidence in my late 30s there, and take the jump into full blown, raise money, do the whole bit, kind of jump in the cloud, hope there's a vine to get things going.
Well, I know personally that's one of the things that I know about you, just in the short time that you and I have gotten to spend time together, is you really are completely aside of the typical mindset of the gun owner. A lot of the times gun owners, and especially, male gun owners, are kind of projected as people who are not highly intelligent or not very creative and kind of one-minded. And you're not. You hold 2 degrees. You practice patent law, which, if you don't know anything about practicing law, guys, patent law is some of the most in-depth, difficult law to actually practice. I mean, your head has got to be huge. On top of it, I was there with Todd when you were talking about some of the editing and creativity that goes into putting together videos, especially your training videos, which are fantastic. So, I mean, I think you are a great example of not only just an entrepreneur, but somebody who really continues to build on their skill set and continues to build into other avenues to make themselves stronger, which I think is really unique.
Yeah, it might be unique. And, like you say, there's stereotypes like Bubba behind the counter there. He's going to tell you about his 45. And, but, the reality is too, I think every area has stereotypes. I mean, MMA, bodybuilding, big lug heads. There's no false dichotomies. Like, you don't have to be big or slow, athletic or dumb. You can, there's a lot of time in a day. There's a lot of neurons. You can do a lot of things, and be fearless of being mediocre on things, right? Just to get it done and get proficiency, meet threshold. Anyways.
Well, on that note, which I think is an important note, I mean, you're a big guy, Mike. I mean, I'm a 5'1" female, and you towered easily. 2 of you could have. I mean, I'm just so tiny in comparison to you. That's really the point I'm trying to make. But because of what we do, we know that oftentimes somebody who is a male, and especially a large male who has 1 skill or 2 skill sets, can stop training and kind of get complacent in their training. As somebody who has never been complacent, just based on your background, what is it that continues to drive you to not hit that point?
Well, that's a tremendous question. Yeah, because it's easy to rely on your strengths, and which ultimately could be a weakness, right? So, I think when it comes to, pistolcraft in particular, like I just am infatuated with, because we always can get faster, right? More powerful, more accurate, and it's just never ending. For some of the physical open hand stuff, which I'm not quite as disciplined on or passionate on, but I still continue to train with Gary Drake, who's coming up this weekend, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think the trick on that for everyone, no matter what discipline you're in, is you always compare yourself to your former self, right? I mean, that's just your number one comparison. Like, how am I to my former self? Because that's the only thing that really matters. I mean, any basketball player is not going to be as good as Michael Jordan, right? I mean, we peaked out in the sport finally, right? Since the 90s, right? I mean, he is the best, right? So, but the best you can do, whether you're these lower players, like, whoever, is compare yourself to your former self. And I think that's what makes it fun. I heard a quote by a local coach here, Coach Wicker, say, comparison is the theft of joy. Comparison is the theft of joy. And there's something about comparing to other people, but I always think comparing yourself to your former self, you're better than you were before, and making it fun, not out of an insecurity, not out of this, but I mean, I lift in the mornings at the high school. Am I stronger than I was, right? Do I have to be strong? It doesn't really matter. It just, is it better? Is my hips more flexible? And it's always this rolling thing. And I think that's, not to belabor this too much, but it's just kind of the fun journey of life, right? I mean, we're past our peak when we're 25, so to speak, depending, if you can think of it that way. So, and we're not really competing for national championship and a lot of stuff, but yeah, I think people just got to look at it like, just make this fun and sustainable and not fear-based too. If I can extend this question one further layer, because too much in firearms training, I think in open hand stuff too, it's like, you got to do this, you're going to get killed, or it's going to be this, but not to sound cheesy, love beats fear 10 to 1. If you love something, you do it a ton. If you do it out of fear, you're just going to do it to meet threshold and kind of get away from that space and get somewhere where your passions align. So, and I see that with open hand all the time. Geez, people who grapple and such, they love it, almost to a fault, because then they kind of get too much into it without kind of appreciating what a $2 2-inch pocket knife would do if it gets thrown in, or, you know what I mean? So that's where they got to kind of broaden out the training a little bit there. But anyways.
Absolutely. And, speaking of Gary, who, if you guys don't know Gary, look him up. He's fantastic. But I noticed, when I was with you at SHOT Show, I noticed you were able to surround yourselves with some high level, very amazing instructors, Gary being one, Don another, I mean, Britt, Todd, I mean, these fantastic instructors. How is it that you find yourself amongst, because I mean, you're obviously a high level instructor as well, but how is it that you find yourself among these fantastic instructors who are all willing to work together to build a stronger community?
Yeah.
That's really unusual in this grouping.
No, you're right. I think the big thing on that is identifying people just aren't fundamentally insecure, as crazy as that sounds, and it sounds like a threshold kindergarten thing, but when someone just has a little bit of insecurity, that sort of that void, they have energy and it spins, but it just gets kind of destructive. And when you're around people who are pretty secure, pretty open, they have a good permission to fail card to kind of hang it out there, and that really lets things go far and fast. And it's kind of a funny thing too. I think, like, linking this to our previous question, I think a certain amount of insecurity is good. I mean, it's just a little bit like, man, I'm not quite where I should be. There's a little bit of gravity to that. But if it's just that in itself, it spins you in a negative orbit. You don't really get anywhere. But if there's a sense of gravity, also with the sense of competency, things that you got locked down, so to speak, skills and relationships and past performance, all these kind of things together, I think those propel us pretty good. So it's a little bit of a yin and yang. But I think a key around a lot of those key, because that's been our business, is relationships, just building these really, really strong relationships. But the really tight ones, it's not getting around people that kind of get in that too negative, insecure and self-absorbed and think they're all important. That's got to kind of keep that double arm's length, I guess, just to
Absolutely
put it all out there.
I 100% agree. And I think especially in the firearms world, I mean, people play their instructing and their education and what they know so close to the vest sometimes, and they're not willing to share this knowledge. And I think that's where a lot of firearms people get kind of, they get themselves in trouble. And
they have stakes in the ground. They've written books on or something. They have stakes in the ground and they can't move that stake. If there's a better practice or things like that, it can be definitely be a little bit dogmatic, without question.
Yes, I know. Of course, I obviously use the cert guns and the cert knives, and I've had pushback even with the cert guns, where you don't ever put your finger on the trigger.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I don't know why you have ammo, because you don't ever shoot. So I don't. Right. It's that type of mentality where sometimes I think it's important that that's great that that's what you learned 20 or 30 years ago through the NRA, but we're continuing to develop, we're continuing to evolve, and we're continuing to add this training into what we're doing. And I think that's where a lot of this training and some of these instructors that you work with are so extremely fantastic, because they scientifically and knowledgeably add in information like the hand-to-hand or the knife, and as well as moving into that next level of force. So I just think you have such a great team that you've surrounded yourself with, and you guys are doing such a great job. Tell us a little bit about some of the products you've got coming up, and kind of some of the stuff you're excited about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely. We're very excited about just pounding our same message of just some short little training clips. And we've had some bigger type instructor development courses, but honestly, we're going to kind of go back to just real short 20-second, just this quick Instagram, type, like, hey, here's a quick thing you can do, single hand only drill, 10 shots as quick as you can, try to get a dot, move back, keep it in a circle, boom, dot, I mean, something like that, which is pretty obvious. And there's more depth to it, obviously it's single hand only, trigger control isolations, things like that. So I'm generally excited on that, but product wise, actually, I got this guy a little ready. So, the AR-15 is just, one of the, this premier rifles, right? And one of the most popular, extendable and everything else, right?
Absolutely.
So our search stick, which, I know you saw at SHOT Show there, we're super excited on, because if someone already has a SIRT pistol and already outfitted, I mean, it's just like the Transformer thing, right? Like little bumblebee going, chip, 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 switching up from a little guy to a big guy there. So, you still got a functional safety, which is huge, because, the two things that people have got to train, and I've seen this in so many trade shows, people don't fundamentally understand or are able to implement offset training. So they understand the offset from the bore, all right? And actually, the laser shoots out underneath here, just so you know what I mean? So it's mock, but still the same concept, right? Offset, and then it's working a selector switch, right? The safety, gun up, safety down. I mean, just that, besides swing work and positional work, move with the gun, move the gun, transition your backup sights if you have to, right? All those things, there's so much rifle training. And I think I'm so excited because instructors, all like yourself and institutions like yourself can have an opportunity to start teaching some rifle courses indoor, because, I've taken some courses, and a lot of the discharging the weapon, particularly with the AR-15 and 223, it's, the recoil's nothing, right? And even a lot of the concepts for like home defense and close quarter, like as far as like breath, breathing control, trigger control, it's really not as relevant unless you're kind of reaching out there beyond 100, 200, 300 yards, which a lot of the rifle courses are not. They're kind of 50 yards in, honestly, but it works. So anyway, we're excited about this. We're super excited about this. This is
guys, I can tell you, as somebody who handled it at SHOT Show, I mean, it's easy to maneuver, it's easy to handle, it's easy to, I mean, really, it's really realistic. I mean, just like the certs are. I mean, you're gonna love this if you haven't handled it yet. Really make sure you put it on your list, because you're gonna want to add it to your training.
Yeah, if someone already has a SIRT pistol too, they're gonna really, because they'll list SIRT pistols and such, but it's you extend the barrel out a little bit here. It's gonna come with a proprietary buttstock, which only fits this, so it's totally ITAR compliant, right? No live fire tools. 15 rail is awesome. So we're excited. We're super excited on this. Plus, we'll have a pretty inexpensive sling that people can buy. Just doing sling work is pretty important.
Yes.
To get comfortable with how to just mount the AR, snap drills, things like that. I'm not great with an AR. Pistol's more my passion, but this guy has increased my rifle craft a ton. I mean, one of the things I want to do is I just want to stand up 200 yards, gun up, safety down, right, and just shoot like a license plate size, deer target, right? And this actually, I'll show you one little thing. You'll like this. You guys all might like this. So I got another stick. I took an old scope. Okay, this is an old Night Force, nice scope, nice optic, but it's second focal plane, and it's kind of 42 power. It's more of a bench rest scope. I don't got a real good use for it, even though it's quite expensive. But on this guy, zoomed in, it's phenomenal for my training. Just my offhand training.
Oh yeah.
Just to kind of come up, see, and you can see the laser at insane distances in full daylight. So even your trigger control, your breathing, your follow through, and your pull has to be consistent. So yeah, it's really fun. Again, it gets back to that fun factor of training, right? Where you just see it, you want to grab it, you want to sneak in these short trainings throughout the day. And that's really one of the keys to mastery, that distributed learning.
Oh, absolutely. And, when your brain is excited about, wanting to play with something and try something different, when it's deemed as fun, we tend to retain it a little bit more. Where
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but when I hit the range, I'm, in full mode. Okay, this is what I'm doing. And, it's not fun. It's things I've got to get done. I mean, sure, is it fun? Yes, absolutely. But I have specific goals that I'm doing when I hit the range. But when I pick up a cert, I'm, oh, okay, what can I practice on? What can I move to? What can I develop? And it's fun because I can do it anywhere. And so it's just such a phenomenal tool all the way around. I know, like I said earlier, the certain knife, in our training, we have so many folks who, there's all sorts of plastic and bendy knives or whatever, but none of them break down the way that the cert knife does. And so we've been
Collapse,
we've been able to add that into our training, where people who were maybe fearful of poking their partner because, you don't really want to stab somebody. This has been excellent because, we've got some sweet, sweet people who have never even thought about stabbing somebody, who are now attacking at full speeds because they know they're not going to hurt their partner. And so it's been a real good eye opener to add that into what we're doing. So I definitely highly recommend, I mean, if you do any kind of training whatsoever, to get in touch with Next Level Training, look at the products that they're offering. Mike has trainings everywhere. I mean, you literally could get stuck in a dark rabbit hole on YouTube and on their website. They have fantastic trainings that you can sign up for through your email, and it just comes to your email, and they'll follow you, and you'll get them pretty regularly. Where else can people find more information about you and Next Level Training?
Yeah, gosh, I guess of course the website and got our Instagram. I don't know where that stuff is. Maybe I can get Luke with you. I can put it up somewhere on here,
I'll link it to the video, no problem.
Yeah, well, Cert Living, we started a little more of an online course. That gets a lot of traction, but some instructors that they like it. It's just a few little classes, like trainer type courses.
Yeah.
You kind of get instructors this of a mindset. Of course, you have quite an institution. I mean, you have a whole brick and mortar, quite established. I went through your website. It's fantastic. The selection. A lot of instructors just throughout the whole country are more recreational, so to speak. But they do have a list, and they've taught some concealed carry courses, and you know what I mean. I put more in the hobby category, maybe semi-retired, something like that. One of our goals is try to get a lot of those men and women put on other courses. They already made a relationship, so just put on a positional shooting course. Like take your 5 certs and some cardboard boxes, and you'll get in compromised shooting positions, and they do some isolation drills, and then do some presentation drills, and do some fearlessness drills, permission to fail.
Yeah.
Cook up around as quick as point of aim does, and then work from there by doing a few coaching points. So, yeah, I mean, kind of went down a rabbit hole there, but that's kind of what we're excited, and there's still a lot of ground to hoe on that. We've got there's still. I thought by now at this time, say 10 years into it, we'd have other thoughts, but no, we gotta be disciplined on pounding that very basic message of high volume self-diagnostic training, low barrier to entry training, low barrier in cost and setup and location, travel, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Not to replace live fire course, but just to complement it and make our live fire training more valuable, get more out of it.
Absolutely. I know personally, I have gotten to use it at my location with people who have trauma backgrounds, so loud noises or even firearms are just terrifying for them. So I've been able to put it in their hands, and they're not scared because they know, that it's not going to have that loud explosion. It's not going to be scary, right? It's not going to hurt them. It's not going to hurt anybody else. I literally, so I'm sure you know this about me, but I've been the pistol instructor for Ladies Hunting Camp here in Oregon for many years. I do advanced pistol, all that other stuff for them, but I have had more ladies come through that class who are just terrified of pistols in general, and I've been able to put a cert in their hands and let them practice and go through the basics and just the fundamentals, because it's not scary. And I think that element is so powerful and fantastic for those people who have that initial fear. And I think it's a great way to get more people involved in that firearms world, and just to give them the fundamentals and the basics before we ever give them something live, so that everybody's as safe as possible. It's just such a fantastic tool all the way around.
Oh, I appreciate to hear that. No, that's exactly it. Yeah, because people do tend to give it respect. You know, they're not real goofy with it, like, poking their heads, you know what I mean? But they know it can't go boom. So it's kind of a sweet spot. We try to be there for beginners and then just extend it up. So if you go to, like, say, team tactics, you can be downrange from one another, just like real life, right? But with stick pistols. And that's kind of where excited with the rifle too, particularly in law enforcement and open enrollment classes, is, you can just get with your buddies and friends and, do some very very realistic team tactics, but not necessarily with live fire, right? Because you kind of a lot of people got to work that stuff out, first. So what I'm trying to say, the extendability to take that more advanced, and let that addiction factor, if you will, just kind of continue the mastery of pistol and rifle craft. That's beautiful. I love what you guys are doing. I like what you're doing. It's awesome.
Well, obviously, we love what you're doing. I mean, we're big supporters. We try and tag Next Level Training, and as often as on all our stuff as often as we can. But yeah, in closing, I just want to thank you so much for coming on, folks. I will make sure to add all the social media and website information below in the comments. That way, if you have questions, or you just want to get involved and purchase a cert, you'll know where to go and do it. And there's loads and loads of classes. Like I said, sign up for those newsletters that come in so that you can get some of the training that they offer. It's fantastic. And look for the additional training courses that are coming. Mike, anything else to add?
No, I think you covered, Shane. Beautiful. It's wonderful. Yeah. Again, appreciate your passion, everything you're doing. And like I said, I looked at your website just organically, and I signed up to your newsletter to kind of see what your sales process was. And I just think everything you're offering, it looks just fantastic in your area there in Oregon.
Well, thank you. Anytime you're this way, you've always got a home.
Perfect. Lovely.